Today, the Magpies have a tough road home in season 95. This afternoon, they travel to Bruce Stadium to take on second-place Canberra. Stay with us for a match preview and live coverage. We meet more of our up-and-coming stars in school sports. Then it's live to the Clipsal powerhouse as defending champions the Adelaide Lightning take on competition leaders Sydney in the WNBL. Thanks for joining us. I'm Karen Tai. Also today, we'll keep you in touch with what else is happening in sport, beginning with a look at results overnight. And in Rugby League, Cronulla is running hot at the right end of the season, defeating top-of-the-table Manly last night at Brookvale Oval. The Sea Eagles lost forward Owen Cunningham in the first half, sent off for a high tackle in the 36th minute. Cronulla went into the break with a 10-4 lead, a position they capitalised on in the second term. Manly losing another player when David Gillespie was stretchered off. The final score 17-10, Cronulla now moving into fourth spot on the premiership ladder. And in last night's other match, the Western Reds have kept their finals chances alive with an 8-point victory over the South Queensland Crushers. And we'll have further details on both of last night's games in our league preview coming up shortly. In rugby union, an announcement is expected tomorrow on just how many players have signed up for Kerry Packer's breakaway competition. The so-called World Rugby Championship has been recruiting players for over a month now, believed to include the whole of the All Black team, 75 South African players and many from the Australian ranks. Off-field distractions aside, we'll keep you updated with how this afternoon's 100th international between Australia and New Zealand progresses at the Sydney Football Stadium. In AFL, Melbourne captain Gary Lyon has led his side to a valuable 22-point win over North Melbourne last night at the MCG. Lyon booted 7 goals in the Demons' victory, one which consolidates their place in the top 8.
Coming off 2 straight losses, it was important for the Roos to get back on track. But the Demons, sitting in 8th place on the ladder, were keen to improve on last week's loss to Geelong. However, neither team could find the mark early on. After a scrappy start, the Demons finally posted the first goal, but although dominating possession, held only a slight lead going into the second term.
13-4, that's straight through.
Captain Gary Lyon took it upon himself to inject some spark into the side through some inspirational play.
Brilliant! What a goal! A classic!
The lack of involvement by the Roos' big names saw the Demons exert some influence across half forward as they took their lead to 21 points. However, North wouldn't lie down and 3 uncontested goals saw them come back to go ahead by 3.
What a good effort by McKernan, he's got it! North in front!
But it was only brief as the Demons stepped up a gear to put the pressure back on.
Oh, great goal, Glenn Lovett.
Gary Lyon steadying a far more consistent Melbourne outfit to take the match and deliver North's 3rd defeat in a row.
What a goal! He's a champ!
4 matches last night in the Men's National Basketball League. North Melbourne defeated Townsville 112 to 103. Geelong were 10-point winners over the Gold Coast. Illawarra keep their spot in the top 8 after an upset over South East Melbourne. While in Perth, the Wildcats were given a big scare by bottom-of-the-table Hobart.
How do you like tonight?
Not only are they languishing at the bottom of the table, but the Devils had the past against them. On Perth road trips, they haven't won since 1987, but early Hobart looked anything but underdogs. Andre Moore led the scoring for the Devils with 22 for the match, including this in the first half.
To Moore, the fake over Crawford by Moore, and he nets 2.
Perth's offence was shabby and the Devils jumped on anything loose.
Scott will go all the way and makes the easy 2.
Down by just 3 at half-time, Perry the playmaker produced all the right moves.
Long-range shot from Perry again. Well,
Perth shot just 43% from the field, but when the offence did click, it was Grayson Vlahov doing the damage. Vlahov with a game-high 30.
Vlahov scores 2 more.
His team held on for a 2-point lead going into the final term. Then, in the dying stages, Perry hit this.
Scores.
But not enough to cause a major upset, the Wildcats scraping home by just 2 points. And another close match in the WNBL last night with the Perth Breakers getting home by just 2 over the Canberra Capitals. That win keeping them in the 4. And a reminder that our TV game this afternoon is the top-of-the-table clash between Adelaide and Sydney, live from the Clipsal powerhouse. New Zealand has finished third at the World Netball Championships in Birmingham after an easy win over England this morning our time. The Kiwis, who were surprisingly beaten by South Africa earlier in the tournament to put them out of a place in the final, never had any trouble against the host nation, final score 60-31. And don't forget our live coverage of tonight's final, Australia versus South Africa. Our telecast starts at 10-1 tomorrow morning Eastern Time. That's live around the country. Other areas, check your local guides. Damon Hill has secured provisional pole for tomorrow's German Formula One Grand Prix. Hill and Williams teammate David Coulthard filled the top two placings, followed by world champion Michael Schumacher, Mika Häkkinen, Jean Alesi and Johnny Herbert.
Hockenheim's welcome for the Formula One brigade was a little off colour with rain dampening proceedings. Damon Hill in morning practice went off the track, much to the delight of the German crowd. Local hero and world champ Michael Schumacher was unperturbed by rumours that he was going to walk out on the Benetton team and link up with Ferrari for next season, as he had the crowd on its feet setting the early pace. But Hill quickly turned things around in the 1 hour afternoon session, overtaking the German's mark and his provisional pole sitter. The Williams team made it a double with David Coulthard second quickest in the session. The McLaren of Mika Häkkinen was fourth fastest, while Jean Alesi put his Ferrari next in line, with Silverstone winner Johnny Herbert rounding up the top six.
England are in a good position after 2 days of the fourth cricket test against the West Indies at Old Trafford. In reply to the Windies' first innings of 216, England was 7 for 347 at stumps, an overall lead of 131, Graham Thorpe hitting 94. Still overseas and in golf, Queensland's Terry Price is the best placed Australian after 2 rounds of the Dutch Open. Price is in a group of 6 players, 4 shots behind the lead of Scotland's Sam Torrance, who shot his second round 64. British Open champion John Daly is a further 2 strokes back. Australia's Jane Crafter is tied for third at the halfway mark of the LPGA Friendlies Classic in Massachusetts, 3 shots behind leader Becky Iverson of the USA. And still in Massachusetts, an 8 under par 63 has American Fred Funk at the top of the leaderboard at the halfway stage of the Idian Classic. His 13 under total of 129, a new record for a PGA tournament at the Pleasant Valley Country Club. Funk looking for his second tournament win after 7 years on the tour. And we wish him luck, a long time without a win. Time now to cross down to Bruce Stadium for a preview of today's match. A tough one for the Magpies as they try and stay in the top 8. And at the Bruce Stadium, I hope, wearing his winter woolies, or perhaps it's nice and sunny down there. I'm sure he'll tell us. It's good afternoon to Warren Boland.
Good afternoon, Karen. Good afternoon, everyone, wherever you are. Well, it is sunny here, Karen, but yes, it is a day for wearing the thermals if you're out in the crowd. But those chilly conditions should be conducive to a fast, open game of football. A vital game for the Magpies, currently equals 6th on the ladder, 7th on for and against, and with 5 games to go. Well, they just have to keep winning. They'd have to win probably 3 of those last 5 to make the top 8, and they have very hard games ahead, including today. They don't get much tougher than Canberra here at Bruce Stadium. Canberra, 2nd on the ladder, playing good football as always, but hit by a few injury problems. Quite a few big names out. Stewart, Nagus, Lomax, Hetherington, Pongia, and also Michael Maguire out. But they have able replacements. I mentioned the wind. It is quite a brisk wind blowing from the south. There's Black Mountain away in that southerly direction and those gum trees. Look a little, well, quieter at the moment, but for the most part, the wind has been blowing them around. And the crowd is leaving it till the last moment to come in, but I'm sure they'll be in fine voice once they do join us. Big clash this afternoon with Jimmy Sidaris up against Steve Walters, who of course was the kangaroo hooker, and that should be a real key to the match, Jacko.
Yeah, a real tough one. A very special day for Stephen Walters as well, playing his 201st first grade game. Last week was his 200th, but because we're at Bruce Stadium today, the crowd are celebrating. They got their mask, there it is. Apparently that's replaced the Warren Boland mask in the House of Horrors, is the favourite seller. And there's his mum, Sandy Walters, travelled all the way down from Brisbane for this special occasion for Stephen. She's in fact a Raiders supporter, which is a little bit strange because her other 2 sons, Kevin and Kerrod, play for the Broncos, but she's a Raiders supporter through and through. A great family of rugby league players, and good luck to Steve today. One of the best blokes in the game.
Absolutely. Now let's take a look at the lineups, and a few changes, as I said. Canberra knocked around, but I mean, they seem to have great depth, don't they? Look at the forward pack. In the front row, they've got DeVico and Wesley there to take over from the likes of Lomax and Pongia. We've got Jason Croker, who can play anywhere in the second row today after playing 5/8 last week. And at halfback in place of Ricky Stewart is Steve Stone.
Yeah, Steve Stone does play a very similar game to Ricky Stewart. He's got a great long pass on both sides. He's got a fairly decent kicking game, although I do expect Laurie Daly to take that responsibility today. He'll go okay, Steve Stone. He's a first grader playing reserve grader. It's only a great player like Stewart that can keep him there.
Now the Magpies, they have lost Glenn Grief from the front row. That is a blow because he's been in fine form, even though he didn't take part much in last week's win over the Bulldogs. Cherry Mesher still at halfback, and on the wing Tony Wall, number 17, replacing Paul Smith for the second week in a row.
Yeah, Mark Affleck, he's a big unit in 34, big Paul Merlot style looking player. You'd remember him, Warren, of course.
I do. G'day, Max in Newcastle.
And, of course, the pressure today and the responsibility, once again, we'll go with Langmack. Of course, Jim Sedaris in the hooking role, his favourite spot, won the man of the match last week, and Andrew Leeds at fullback. They're the blokes West will look forward to today. I can't see West winning, Warren, but it should be a fairly good contest.
Yeah, no, I think we'll see one tough game, and that's what Tim Sheens has been pointing to. Now, unfortunately, Debbie Spillane isn't with us this afternoon. Debbie's mother, Beth, passed away during the week. Beth was an avid Bulldog supporter, a season ticket holder out there. And, Debbie, you're in our thoughts, and our sympathy goes to all of your family. It's a little lonelier on the sideline this afternoon for Johnny Peard. But, Johnny, how are conditions?
Conditions, Warren, for this game. A win from the south, and that'll be at West's back because, surprisingly, Canberra won the toss and elected to run into the wind. So that'll be interesting to see how that fares. If West need a little bit of confidence, it'll be early in the game. With the wind at their back, they might be able to do something. But, you know, Canberra's pluses, of course, are the mobility of their forwards. They're all very quick players. And, of course, the width of their attack with the long passes. And as Peter Jackson said, I don't think they'll suffer all that much with the long width of their passes, because Steve Stone throws a pretty long pass himself. Of course, the kicking game may let them down, but it could be a plus also because Laurie Daly could be kicking from 2 passes wide, and that's always going to be a problem for any side. West's big pluses are the spirit that's been engendered into the team this year, and of course they have their kicking game. Andrew Leeds, that'll have to be spot on today. Their second phase support play will have to be at its best today to worry this Canberra defence. Canberra defence 2nd on the ladder, and Canberra offence 6th on the ladder. They're averaging 24 points a game, Canberra, and West 23 points a game. So that's surprising, but it'll be an interesting game today. I'd like to see West, with a lot of that spirit and with the wind at their back, really stick it to Canberra in the first half. But hard to go past the Raiders today.
It certainly is.
Isn't it Steve Waller's 200th game? What's that mask Peard he was wearing down there?
The old man mask.
Scary.
And you can see both teams out on the field loosening up as Peardy was talking. Now, 2 games last night to start round 18, and over at the Wacker, the Western Reds kept their faint final 8 hopes alive with a good win over the Crushers, 22-14, and Bernie Cohen has a report on it.
Still gunning for a top 8 spot, the Reds took just 4 minutes to get on the board through Brett Goldspink. Soon after, Brad Mackay cut through, sending Matt Rodwell over, the Reds bounding out to 10-0. But the home side suffered a huge loss when Brad Mackay was forced off after a nasty whack on the jaw, the Reds 12-0 at half-time. The second half was just 2 minutes old when Chris McKenna cut through, setting up the Crushers' opening try.
Going up as Cruz, over the top is Norton, and Norton scores a fabulous try.
But John Greaves put the Reds back out to 18-6, although David Cruz got the Crushers back to within 8 with just 18 to go. But when the Reds went to the air, that was the ball game. Chris Ryan grabbing the prize, the home side running out 22-14 victors and remain in finals contention.
Super try! And that will put the Crushers away from the kill.
Doing a good job in their first season, the Reds, and they're a good chance to come in equal 8th, but their for and against record might not get them into the final 8. Now, of course, there was another match last night, and, well, this Cronulla side, they're hot at the moment. They've beaten Manly last night 17 points to 10, and joining us is the victorious captain from the side, Mitch Healy. How are you, Mitch?
Not too bad, Warren.
Must be feeling tremendous. I mean, Cronulla wins over Canberra, Brisbane, Norths and Manly. They're big scalps.
They are big scalps, and we're happy to take them.
I'll bet you are.
Yeah, Mitch, we'll have a look at the highlights as we go along. Interesting to read some of Bob Fulton's comments this morning. Was it a worry to you that you actually played 50 minutes of the game against 12 men and only been able to put that one try on? Of course, you scored yourself.
Yeah, no, not really. I think that Manly certainly lifted when they were down to 12 men and they started to throw the ball around a little bit more, and it made it just that little bit harder for us.
Yeah, this was a try against the run of play, really. Disappointing.
Yeah, it was disappointing. We had them camped down there in their own 22 and, you know, something against the play there certainly made it a little bit harder.
And your defence last night seemed to be the key. You just swarmed all over Manly all night long.
Yeah, it wasn't a case of one-on-one. It was sort of two and three of our guys jumping in on tackles and really putting them on the deck and driving them backwards.
In recent weeks, the Sharks have been picking up plenty of tries from kicks like that last one we just saw.
Yeah, we've been training to put a little bit of pressure on the fullback. I mean, like, even the best fullback in the world can drop a football if you've got enough pressure on you.
Yeah, Mitch, just an observation I had of the game last night. I thought, you know, there's the send-off from Owen Cunningham. How'd you see that one?
Yeah, it was certainly high, and I think like he could have had a good shot anywhere on his body, but he chose to go for his head, so I think he should have went for that.
I reckon you're dead right there. He didn't have to go high. I'm not so sure it was a vicious tackle, but it certainly was high and dangerous.
Yeah, it was high and dangerous. I mean, Owen probably didn't mean to do it, of course, but, you know, it was high, and probably the way that the rulings have been lately, he should have went for it.
Yeah, there seemed to be a fair bit of feeling in the game last night. Mitch, is that a fair comment?
Oh, there was a bit of feeling, but I guess that we were very pumped up for the game, as were Manly, and I think they were probably a little bit shirty because they were down to 12 men. It made it a little bit harder for us, but, you know, we kept our heads and we went on and won it.
Now, there's your try, and the replays show there certainly was a try. There's no doubt there. Just take a cert now, Mitch.
Yeah, I definitely got the ball down. I was originally held up a little bit, but I ended up getting it down just there, as you can see, and Matthew Ridge probably wasn't too impressed about it, but I did get it down, so there's no problems there.
Matthew Ridge very lucky not to be sent to the sin bin for his behaviour there too by the referee.
Yeah, I didn't hear what he had to say. I was just worried about scoring the try.
Just getting back to, obviously we'll have a look at Manly's try. They evened up. There's David Gillespie. He's been cleared of that broken jaw, which is great news for Cement. There he is going off on a stretcher. He's been cleared of that broken jaw, as I said. And coming up now is the try to Nick Kosef with a good ball. That must have been a little bit worrying. Late in the game, you probably had the better of the game, and it looked like they might claw their way back into it, Mitch.
Yeah, we had plenty of opportunities to score, and we probably didn't take the most of them. But you know, they were coming back with 10 minutes to go, and you know, luckily enough, I just banged over the field goal there. But you know, they were coming back very strong.
Yeah, exactly. It was a great win. Just an observation I made of the game last night. I thought on a couple of occasions you had opportunities to spread the ball wide after you'd made a break, and you didn't do that. The ball didn't seem to go to Paul Green and yourself when you needed it and when you wanted it, and I thought you blew a couple of opportunities in doing that.
Yeah, we did do that, and I mean, Johnny Lang being an ex-hooker, he likes the hookers to run from dummy half, and I suppose on a couple of occasions Aaron might have overdone it, but I mean, that's the way that he's seen it, and he obviously thought there was a chance down there, but you know, and in hindsight, he probably should have passed them.
Right, Mitch, thanks for joining us. I just realised I put the little C against your name last night, but it was E.T. who was captain.
Yeah, E.T. was captain. I don't think he'd like me taking the glory for that.
So you're almost as good looking at him, Mitch, anyway.
Thanks, Jacko.
All right, well played. Thanks for joining us.
Very much, Ryan.
Mitch Hurley on the line there, and the Sharks a good chance of making that top four. They are sneaking up right on the heels of Brisbane. Well, the intrigues of rugby union really have dominated I suppose, the newspapers during the week, the saga there on and off the field. But nevertheless, there's been a number of developments in the rugby league world as we know it. On Monday night, Manly's Terry Hill was found guilty of a reckless high tackle on Newcastle's Tony Herman. Chairman Alan Sullivan said the judiciary believed Hill was always going to hit Herman's neck, whether he had the ball or not. Sullivan indicated Hill was suspended for 4 weeks for the tackle itself and an additional 2 weeks because it's his third suspension. I don't think the tackle was as dangerous as some because Hill's arm didn't swing viciously, and for me, 4 weeks all up would have been sufficient, but we all have different opinions. Looking towards next year, the ARL has decided on unlimited interchange, using 4 replacement players, all of whom can be fresh. This is a change from the current system of a maximum of 6 interchanges, with 2 of the 4 replacements having played half a game in the lower grades. The new policy would eliminate confusion over blood bins and uncertainty over how many changes have already been made, and it allows coaches more control over their team's performance. Against that, it can be more confusing for spectators trying to follow what positions players are filling, let alone opposition players. And in this team game, the team is even more of a squad of 17, not 13. The idea of 80-minute stamina will be a thing of the past. The other interesting proposal being floated by the ARL is a replacement for the discredited salary cap. Instead of a ceiling on total player payments, for example, $2 million per club,
To spread playing talent more evenly, the League's Premiership Policy Committee has proposed a points system on a scale increasing with ability and experience. For example, someone who's played over 3 tests might be worth 10 points, a new test player 9 points, an origin rep 8 points, and so on down to first-grade players with a handful of games on the board. There could be discounts for long service and for juniors.
Well, a club, they could pay a player whatever they liked, but the fact is they would only be able to get the number of players in. Once the total number of points hit the ceiling, that would be it. For my money, I would rather you just had 13 players going out there and only replaced injuries, but it's not realistic. It's been abused too often in the past, and I guess this is the simplest system they can come up with, and simplicity is good.
As far as the interchange rule goes, you mean?
Yeah, as far as the interchange rule goes.
I'm all for unlimited interchange. I'm all for injured players being replaced. I think it's a ridiculous situation to have a bloke out on the field who's injured because you're not allowed to make a replacement. But what I am against is having an interchange situation where you have 20 or 30 interchanges at a game. Rugby league's a game of skill, but it's also a game of endurance and a game of courage. And it's all about hanging in there when you're tired, thinking when you're tired. And if the simple fact of the matter is that once a bloke gets tired, no matter what position he plays, you can simply pull him off the field and put a fresh bloke on. I think that takes away a few of the principles of rugby league.
Yeah, but the trouble is, in the past it hasn't really worked. The coaches have wanted to have more replacements than they've been allowed. It's been abused whether a player's injured or not, and right now the system isn't working.
Listen, I think 6 interchanges is not enough, but I certainly don't think... I think 50 is too many. I think they should come up with maybe 10 or 15 or 16.
But then you've got to count them.
Is that hard? I can count to 16, can't you?
Well, so far I think in the last few years 3 teams have been fined for competition points.
Mate, if they're running a multi-million-dollar business and they can't get a bloke on the sideline to count the number of replacements, well, they're kidding.
Johnny Peard, what do you reckon about the interchange?
Yeah, Warren, I think it's just been introduced simply for simplicity reasons. It's pretty obvious that it's caused some problems over the years, but I agree with Peter there. I think it's a game of endurance and stamina and just staying power, and I think it's a shame, but it's been brought in for that. I agree with it, but I think the coaches will use common sense, Warren. I don't think you'll find. I think it's too disruptive to have 20 and 25 and 30 interchanges, and I think the coaches got a good feel for the players that they've got in their side also, and they know their players well. No player likes to be replaced in any game. So I don't think there's anything to be served for the player's benefit to pull him off and put him on, especially down here in Canberra. I tell you what, it's pretty cold. But most players like to stay on the field, and I think common sense will prevail from the coach's point of view, and I think simplicity is to have unlimited interchange.
Thanks, Petey. Well, our lounge lizard this afternoon is Sean Garlick, the East hooker and captain. Sean, what do you think about the interchange, unlimited?
Well, I've got mixed feelings about it, Warren, really. As Petey said, that no player really likes to be replaced, and I think something's got to go towards players that have got the endurance and the stamina to go the 80 minutes. But then again, from a spectator's point of view, I suppose there are times in games when it's getting towards the end and players are starting to tire, and I suppose the game does lose a bit once the flow sort of slows down a bit. And if we can bring on players that are fresh, I suppose it just livens up the game for the full 80 minutes, which is a good thing.
Now, what about this afternoon's game? I guess it was about a month ago the Roosters nearly knocked off Canberra. Do you think West can do it today?
Well, West have been playing a fairly exciting brand of football. They're capable of anything. I saw them last week or the week before, and they seem to have everything going for them. Canberra, I suppose, at their home ground, they're very hard to beat. They somehow managed to master that the cold weather and that ice-like surface there at Bruce Stadium. But I think it'll be a very close encounter today.
Sean, we've just got a couple of seconds. Who do you think's the key to the match then?
Well, obviously players like Laurie Daly and Ricky Stewart, if they can perform, they're going to help any team. And down on their home ground with the support behind them, I think they're the key players really.
All right, Sean, we look forward to hearing more from you at half-time and at full-time. Just about time right now, though, to go back to Karen Ty in the studio. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Thanks, Brian. Well, 4 AFL matches being played this afternoon. Let's take a look at those scores, starting at Cardinia Park, where a short time ago between Geelong and Sydney, both at 2-1-13. Essendon also on that score. Fremantle, though, 1 point ahead at the MCG. Over at the Optus Oval, Richmond just the one behind. St Kilda 1-2-8. Footscray 1-4-10. Hawthorn with the 2 behinds. Time now to announce the winner of our Rugby League competition last week, and it's congratulations to Ben Robinson of Kincumber in New South Wales, who knew that Tommy Raudonikis won the Rothmans medal when playing for Western Suburbs back in 1972. Tommy played for the Magpies between 1969 and 1979. And this is what Ben has picked up: a bomber jacket from his favourite club, the book The ABC of Rugby League, a video of last year's Kangaroo Tour, plus an ABC Sports cap. Now, for your chance to win the same prize, here's the question you'll need to answer this weekend. What was the scoreline of last week's win by Western Suburbs over the Bulldogs? Was it 20 to 16, 14 points to 12, or 18 points to 14? If you think it was version A, phone 0055 60524. 14 to 12 is 60525, or was it 18 points to 14? 0055 60526 is that line. Now, those lines are open up till midnight on Thursday, and we'll announce the winner this time next week. Well, back to the Bruce Stadium now with kick-off not far away.
Canberra versus Western Suburbs. The Premiers Canberra are once again set for the top four. Only occasionally tested or bested, the Raiders have coasted through another season of success. But now the finals loom. Canberra know there are genuine contenders for their crown. Coach Tim Sheens has called for a lift in intensity now. He wants the green machine geared up so they hit September at ramming speed. Wests face a series of hurdles to make the finals. Last week at home, they cleared the Bulldogs to shore up a place in the 8. But today, the jump is higher. Canberra at Bruce Stadium. The Magpies are 4 points clear of a bunch of 5 teams, but the bar is rising each week, and any trip or slip will make their race for the final 8 that much harder. Canberra have set the standard, but when Tommy says jump, the Magpies say, how high? The Raiders versus the Magpies.
The Raiders coach Tim Sheens has been warning his side to expect a very physical Western Suburbs this afternoon. And I think he's been putting that thought into their mind to rev them up to make sure they're ready to meet the West Challenge this afternoon. And it should be a very intense start to the game. You can see everybody's rugged up. There they are. Jacko, you've played in here for a couple of years. I guess you've got to be pretty hardy to come along and cheer along the Raiders.
Yeah, you do. There's, as we again look at Steve Wallace's parents, KG and Sandy, they're rugged up down from Queensland. They know how cold it is down here, but it's certainly an advantage to the Canberra side, Warren. There's no doubting that. This is probably one of the few grounds, along with perhaps Brisbane and Auckland, that really have a true home ground advantage. It's a lot different down here to play. The grass is a lot looser, the ground's a lot slipperier, and as you said, the cold can be, be really numbing. When I used to play down here, Warren, I used to have to put my feet in the spa bath for about 5 minutes before I put my socks on, because my feet used to go numb like that.
And you would have used that spa very often, I'm sure. So we're just waiting for the Canberra side to come out here. They have a tremendous home ground record. Won 18 of their last 19 home games through 94 and 95. Was Manly upset that record? Johnny Peart, how are you tipping?
I'm sorry, Warren, who am I tipping?
Yep.
I have to tip the Raiders, I think, but plenty of respect for Western Suburbs. Tommy Raudonikis has got them firing fairly well. They've come down here for a big, tough game because, the next few performances over the next couple of weeks are very, very important to West. They can just slip into that 8. Be very important, but I couldn't go past Canberra, I think, with their width.
Like the ski jacket too.
Yeah, where'd you get that coat from, Peter?
Peter Jackson, formal wear.
There's been quite a bit of confusion just before the game as to exactly who was lining up for the West side. There some thought that Mark Affleck was going to be in the starting lineup, but that's not the case. And welcome to our viewers over in Western Australia, just joining us now. The Raiders mascot there, cutting a fine figure.
Victor the Viking, I think they call him. He has got an ordinary head, Warren, an incredibly ordinary head. That would scare anybody.
With or without the mask
yeah,
on.
You should see him, I was going to say, you should see him under the mask. Start me line, Warren. Just got to get this organised.
Sorry.
There's a brave Maggie supporter down from Campbelltown. There's a few.
He hasn't got too many mates around him either.
Yeah, there is a number of Magpie supporters I saw. I think a couple of buses came down from Campbelltown to watch the game, and they've got great support this year out in the Campbelltown district. You can probably thank Tom McGronicus. And Wayne Ellis, of course, is Tommy's assistant. Doesn't get many mentions in the paper. Wayne Ellis as well, Warren. Of course, he took over as caretaker coach last year when Warren Ryan got the punt. And he's done a great job as well out there at Western Suburbs. But they're counting on making the top 8, Western Suburbs. So a loss today could be very, very, very tough for them to make the top 8. The way I see it, Warren, they've got to win 3 out of their last 5. And they do play Brisbane, Newcastle, Canberra.
Brisbane, Norths, Manly, Illawarra.
Yeah.
It is all tough sides to beat. Now, Laurie Daly is the skipper today, but Steve Walters playing his 201st first-grade game, given the honour of leading out the sides. And what a magnificent player he has been for the Raiders, for Queensland and for Australia. Congratulations to Steve. There's the Canberra side. Brett Mullins at fullback. Albert Foulabai on the wing. David Boyle in the centres alongside Ruben Wiki. Noah Nandruku is the other winger. Laurie Daly, 5'8". Steve Stone, number 20, at halfback for Ricky Stewart today. Brad Clyde at lock. David Ferner, the versatile Jason Croker in the second row. Luke DeVico, Steve Walters and David Wesley in the front row. Here come the Magpies. Paul Langmack leads them out. Andrew Leeds, fullback. Tony Wall on the wing, jersey 17. Ken McGuinness and Paul Bell in the centres. Darren Willis is the other winger, scoring plenty of tries this season. Steve Georgalis, 5'8". Cherry Mesher at halfback for the second week in a row. Paul Langmack lock. Bill Dunn, Mark Horrow, the second rowers. Brent Stewart, Jim Sedaris and Mark Affleck. Well, he is in that list. Is he out on the field? Glenn Grief, we were told, might just start instead, but no, it looks like Mark Affleck is on the field. Number 34. Johnny Peard, the ground looked a little soft. How is it?
Well, Warren, I did have a walk out there earlier. They had quite a bit of rain last night, I believe. One guy said 2 or 3 inches. It's a bit hard to believe, but that is a little soft out there. But Wests are running with the wind. That'll be interesting, Warren. That's a decision that Canberra may regret at half-time.
In the middle, I had a look too. It seemed to be fairly dry in the centre, but down in the corner where this ball's probably going to land from Andrew Leeds, it was pretty soft. Away we go. Referee is David Manson. Andrew Leeds boots it straight to Laurie Daly and bring it back as Luke DeVico. The job there for DeVico and David Wesley, 2 of the young guns today, in the absence of Quentin Congea and John Lomax from the side. Also Brett Hetherington out, Ken Nagus, and most important of all, Ricky Stewart. The season points. This Canberra's record in attack, while very good, is not that much better than West. Canberra's attacking force hasn't been as prominent, not kicking too many goals either, David Ferner, but against, very strong in defence. Second best defensive record in the competition. And on the other hand, West's 8th in attack, 10th in defence. The high kick taken by Leeds, as chasing through was Croker. But in reserve grade, it was a win to Canberra, 16 points to 8, after West led 8-4 through most of the second half. Canberra coming from behind to win. First penalty of the match goes against the Raiders. Just putting the hand in there after the tackle was completed. David Ferner, Brad Clyde was also up there in defence. There's Ricky Stewart sitting alongside Tim Sheens, who will be coaching the Raiders this year and next. And in 97 he goes to Townsville. Jacko, what's the word on who's going to coach the Raiders? Have you heard any others apart from Gary Belcher's name?
Oh, obviously Dean Lance, who's been the reserve grade coach here for a number of years. Sean McRae, they've been mentioned as well. Peter Jackson.
Is that so? You're putting your hat in the ring?
It'd be a great job to get winner. I mean, Sterlo's obviously, Peter Sterling's been mentioned in dispatches, but it's a long way away, Warren. We've got a good game on our hands here today.
A very late offload by Bill Dunn in the tackle. Almost looked as if he'd been held, but now the West's boys have lost it through Leeds.
Yeah, there we have Stevie Georgalis unloading the ball. Andrew Leeds, not expecting, well, he did expect that, just took his eyes off it for a second, and that's a mistake that they can't afford today. Steve Stone feeds the scrum.
Out to Daly on his own 20. Wiki now, a real bonus for the Raiders. When they won the court case involving Ruben Wiki, or at least was settled their way. 15 short of halfway now as Nandruku is in a dummy half. DeVico hits it up. Tackled by Affleck over the top. Stone, short pass for Clyde. Tackled by Horrow, slips it back. Stone's got nowhere to go. Penalty against the Magpies, holding down Affleck, the main offender.
Yeah, just 4 tackle penalty, Warren. They hurt these ones. There he is, just going over the top again. No need for that at all. Horre does the right thing to get out of there, but the penalty had to go to Canberra. And that's they're up for another 5 tackles after just completing 4. As I said, they're killers.
Well, all day long, West will be trying to slow this Raiders machine down. Once they get on a roll, they're very hard to stop. Stone inside to Wesley. Could have thrown the pass. Goes himself. First ahead after it looked as if he was held. Now it comes to Clyde. And good ground made. The West defence slow to move up to Brad Clyde. Hanging back. Only 10 metres out now. Steve Walters. Steve Stone. Wide ball. Daly. Cuts out one. Gives it to Boyle with numbers. Mullins loses it. Couldn't quite pull it in. They had the overlap there. Mullins couldn't pull the passing quickly enough with his winger unmarked alongside him.
Oh, this is one of their favourite players, Canberra. There's Laurie Daly, gets a beautiful little ball away. Picked up great by, who's that, Boyle. Boyle gets the one-hander away to Mullins, and had he caught that, it was try time for Nandruku in the corner, but Brett Mullins just couldn't hang on to it, knocks the ball on, and that'll be one of the few mistakes you'll see from Brett Mullins.
Worrying signs, though, for West. Their slowness in moving up. The forwards for the Raiders were making plenty of ground.
Actually, I thought last week, Warren, of course, we did the West Canterbury game at Campbelltown. I thought last week West were found wanting wide on a couple of occasions as well. So obviously the Raiders, Tim Sheens would have looked at the video, spotted that and decided that's where they might attack the Magpies.
Langmack to Horro. Croker up quickly on him. Quick play the ball, though. Away goes Bell. Running wide, tackled by Stone towards the touchline. Paul Bell stays in the field. Last tackle now. Leeds. Kicking high. Underneath it is Mullins. The chase comes from Georgalis. And Mullins got away from Georgalis, but not from Bell. Nandruku out to Daly. Fulavai has come from the wing. Walters to David Furner. Tries to twist in the tackle to bump away from the tackle of Dunn. Up goes DeVico. And the first man to him was Georgalis, the 5'8". Wesley over the halfway. Last tackle. They're running it out to Daly now, the kick. They're all onside too. It's not that deep to Leeds. The bounce, oh, Leeds gets to it well. And they've all overrun him. Away he goes back towards halfway. Slips it nicely to Langmack. He's got support. Mesha ducks under a couple. Well, the Raiders put that kick through and very nearly regathered, but Leeds turned defence into attack. Up goes Stewart now for West. Slips it away to Sidaris. He gives it to Horro. Making ground. Those short passes which were very effective last week for West, and now they get the penalty. And Ruben Wiki spoken to by David Manson. Nandruku down on the far side.
They'll be
it's okay though.
They'll be okay. No, Andrew Leeds probably had a shot for 2 here. Yes, he does. And David Manson calling Ruben Wiki out for a bit of a yarn. He's got him for putting his arms between the legs and trying to lift the player, Warren. And of course, we saw Jason Hetherington, although he didn't do that last week, he got a 1-week suspension for an alleged dangerous tackle, or a spear tackle as it's known now. There's the bench, the West bench. They'll be keen to get out there.
That's Justin Dooley and Damien Driscoll, fresh reserves. Jason Alchin originally named on the bench, but he had to withdraw. I think he's one of the players who had the flu. Now, Andrew Leeds had a terrible day with the boot last week, kicked only 1 from 7, and that's really at odds with his season's record of 70% success. He's kicked 50 goals from 71 attempts. So he might have got the bad ones out of his system last week. You'd think that West would need every point they can get today against the Raiders. 35 metres out, not far off centre field for Leeds, and it looks to be on target, and the flags are up. West's first points on the board, 2-0. After 7 minutes of play.
Good start for Andrew Leeds. Nice little run before. I think that kick from Laurie Daly that we saw before was actually a missed kick. So a little bit of luck. Well, luck going to Westway in the end, but the Raiders almost come up with it.
Leeds will bring it back. Didn't seem too keen on the idea, maybe expecting there would be a runner at his shoulder to hand it to.
One of the impressive things, Warren, about Canberra, I've noticed even to date in the game we have today, is they go forward. They're Wesley. He's done three charges forward and gone about 15 metres, and also Devico. They really hit onto the ball. Their timing's beaut around the dummy half, and of course they're working off Walters. And, you know, it's handy when you've got two real quick go-forward men like that, want to play the ball quick, then you also got the number 9 there who can just time his run whenever he wants to. And here's the number 9 for West, throwing one out the back and saved by Willis.
Oh, the ref's called it a knock-on by Willis. Didn't appear to be from here, but David Manson was on the right side of Willis as he went back to the ball. Jim Sedaris eventually threw a bad pass, but initially he was left without runners, and he was trying to turn it back to the far side where there was some space.
Yeah, he got lost a little bit, Jimmy Sedaris, then, and
well, I thought he was let down by his teammates.
Yeah, perhaps you're right. There's the pass there, inside to Willis. It was who was nowhere to be seen, and there he is, Jimmy Sedaris holding back Ruben Wiki, and that's what the penalty would be for. Laurie Daly shall find touch, and the Raiders on the attack.
We'll talk about compounding an error. A bad pass leads to a penalty, and suddenly you're on your own 20 tackling instead of being on halfway attacking. Walters, Stone, out to Furner. Back they go 10 metres. Clyde steps off his left foot, managed to get away from Stewart, but Langmack was there. Stone to Daly. Georgialis came up on Daly. Wiki's away with support. He's taken on Leeds and gone straight through him. He didn't use Boulevarde. He should have, but he scored the try anyway. Very strong Ruben Wiki, and he's just brushed away Andrew Leeds' tackle, but you'll see Steve Georgialis move up quickly on Laurie Daly and failed to nail him, and that opened the door for Daly. 4 points to 2 in favour of Canberra. Out it goes from Steve Stone. He's feeding the ball to Daly, giving him room. Georgialis misses, Daly's off. That pass very flat, and Leeds coming across couldn't adjust as Wiki went himself.
Yeah, now, I know I say this a lot, but Canberra playing at Bruce Stadium is different. Have a look at the two slips here. Georgialis goes up too quick and slips. That leaves the hole for Laurie Daly. Great ball from Laurie Daly. Now, Ruben Wiki wasn't much of a sidestep. Andrew Leeds had no chances. He couldn't get his footing, and that's the problem here at Bruce Stadium, getting your footing and getting used to this surface, especially as Johnny Peard said, there's a little bit of water around last night, a little bit of rain. It's a little bit slippery underfoot, and just hard for visiting teams to get used to that. A great try to the Raiders.
22-year-old Ruben Wiki, who repped for the junior Kiwis and the New Zealand Maoris, scoring the try.
What Steve Georgialis did then, Warren, is an absolute no-no at Bruce Stadium, because you'll always slip over when you try and change direction at a rapid rate.
David Furner, 11 metres in from touch, and he's just going to hook it away. The breeze just pulling it back from the posts. The Raiders are on the board with the first try. It's 4-2 after 10 minutes.
And this was on the back of a penalty, and a good run from Bradley Clyde. He really turned them around. They were struggling a little. Here they come. Look at Georgialis. He's decided to zero in, left the line. He left the line well before his inside defensive player, and that's always dangerous. There's always a hole there. Slipped over, and that's just the start that West didn't want.
It'd be interesting, Peter, if you get a chance when the players get a little bit closer, certainly the West players, if you can just check out what sort of studs or tags, as they're known in Queensland, what they're wearing, whether they're wearing moulded soles, because it's a nightmare to wear moulded soles down there. Hang on, there's a high tackle.
Mark Horrow's the man being called out. And David Manson signals, keep them down below the shoulders, get away from the neck. That's what we're seeing more and more. We're seeing very few high tackles that hit places in the face, but we're seeing a lot around the neck. Well, have a look at this one.
Yeah, well, not a great deal in it, I didn't think. I think the Canberra players rushed in because Bradley Clyde in recent times has copped a lot of high shots.
They find touch, and Walters is up there to take the tap straight away. Dumming to Wesley. Always ready to turn up the pace of the game, Canberra. Stone. Furner. Tackled by Horrow. Langmack moved prematurely from the marker, but they went the blind side. They're up there inside the 10 anyway, as Clyde was hitting it up that side. They're taking the tap 20 metres out. They're not going to give Furner too many shots at goal. He's only kicked 4 out of his last 14, and now they've lost it. So with 6 tackles up their sleeve, 20 out, the Raiders fumble.
Well, that was a mistake. They go for the quick tap. Jason Croker just taking his eyes off the ball for a second, coming up with the knock-on. Laurie Daly, a slap on the back of encouragement.
Well, and that ground is very soft out there. You might notice they're cutting it up. Every time they twist and turn, they're cutting up chunks of turf. So it is a problem out there just with footing.
Nice ball from Leeds out in front of Tony Wall. He took it nicely, 10 short of halfway now.
You think the instruction would be but to wear the very long studs. I think the 18 mils they call them.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at the players now. Most of the West players seem to have them on, Peardy.
Yep.
I did hear that West had a training run down here yesterday, but I presume it wasn't at Bruce Stadium, probably somewhere around. Bad pass, went forward, anyone's ball, and then Druku gets it. Well, clumsy football by West. They don't look to be on their game in attack. For that matter, the defence has been a little less than their best too. Boyle beats the tackle, away he goes. He stepped past Georgalis. Georgalis missing. Stone. DeVico. Over the top comes Affleck. Underneath was Bell. 30 metres out. The backs are set. Daly, the orchestrator. Clyde going inside. Last tackle. Stone puts it up. Leeds is waiting. Stone's going to challenge him. Off the post. Anyone? Stone's got it. How many times have kicks hit the post in the last month for tries? Steve Stone collects his own kick for the try, and it's 8-2 to the Raiders, but not much Andrew Leeds could do about this. What a nightmare.
Oh, poor old Andrew Leeds. But what about the bomb wind? Absolutely perfect. There it is, high as you like, coming down near the upright. Andrew Leeds, no chance at all. Actually, he dropped that ball, came off the upright, had another go at it, but Steve Stone doing the right thing, following through his kick. Now let's have a look at it here. Very, very difficult to... actually, he didn't get a hand of it at all, Warren. Very difficult to get that in that situation. I feel sorry for Andrew Leeds, but Steve Stone, a Ricky Stewart-type kick and a Brett Mullins-type try.
Steve Stone, they call him Brutus, I'm told. 26 years old and a very versatile player, former South Sydney man. But Andrew Leeds can feel disappointed. If you've never played the game, you think, well, why didn't he catch it? But when you're running near to those posts and you've got to keep your eyes on the ball, it's very, very difficult to take them on the full, and that was so close to that upright.
Just a great bomb, wasn't it?
Good kick. Right in front, Ferner. And that is between the posts. There was some thought that Laurie Daly was going to take over the goal kicking from David Ferner. But it's 10-2 to Canberra.
And still one of the best tactics in the game, particularly there. Look, he's kicked it from a fair way out, really. Right up in the air, got right under it, and he's chased it himself. There's no other chase in sight. It's just Steve Stone there, and he's rewarded for this. Real gift, and geez, you can't afford to give gifts like that away to Canberra, can you?
Jeez, I don't know. I couldn't have caught that, Peardy.
No, it's a tough one for him.
That was right up there with the John Peard bomb, that one.
Certainly, anywhere near the post. It's very disconcerting, isn't it? When you're a fullback and or when you even at training and you try and take balls at a near post, it's impossible.
Now Clyde comes forward and offloads, intercepted by Langmack. Affleck's got it. The referee says it went forward from Langmack. Just an inch in it, but let's have a look at it.
Well, Bradley Clyde, I don't know what he was trying to do there. He was, even if Steve Wilders had got the ball, he was always going to be hammered by Langmack and Affleck. So that should have gone the other way, that scrum penalty, scrum feed. There's no doubting in my mind.
Well, I thought that it might have been a tough call, but it's surprising to see West come up with the feed. So they're 20 metres out, and a little bit of luck runs the Magpies' way. The bump and the spin from Affleck, former Tiger. 10 out now. All the West players in the middle of the field. Here they come off Langmack. He finds Leeds, and Leeds is close. He slipped right through the hole. Plenty of runners for Langmack. Hole, another one, and Canberra aren't awake. Big hole on the blind side, and straight through it is Bell. Paul Bell scores for West, and it's 10-6 to Canberra, but the Raiders, having just managed to stop Leeds, didn't adjust to cover up the hole on the blind side, and West smart enough to put a player straight through it. Langmack here holds up the pass beautifully for Leeds, who spears through it. There are plenty of runners to take the defence away. He holds back from the double movement, and just as well, because next play, outside the tackle there of Boyle, goes Bell.
Yeah, great play. Here's Affleck's run there. He bumps off to Vico, spins in the tackle, gets an extra 5 or 6 metres, which was very, very handy. Now, Paul Langmack, they put on this player, second man. Billy Dunn's the decoy. There, see, Billy Dunn takes out who looks like Boyle, and Leeds hits that hole perfectly. Langmack in there at dummy half once again, spots the Canberra short, gets a good little ball away, and just bad defence, bad numbering up by David Boyle. All he had to do was move to his left a couple of paces, and he probably would have stopped that try.
26-year-old Paul Bell, the former Cronulla player, had 4 seasons with the Sharks before switching to the Magpies. Just had the feeling that Boyle was ready to run back into that hole, and then Croker suddenly moved closer to the ruck, and they got a little mixed up. Leeds from out wide, hits it low, and nowhere near the posts. That was not a good shot at goal, but after 18 minutes, Canberra leading 10-6.
Yeah, that scrum feed was a handy little call for West because they didn't deserve it, but this has got them back into the game. Langmack does this beautifully. All week he serves up cakes and food at them. What's it called? The Ampol pantry at Menai, and he serves up passes just as well, and Bell's on the end of that one.
Yeah, interesting to look on the replay there, Petey. Boyle was actually having a bit of a wrestle with one of the West players. That's why he was late to get back into position. Didn't mark up on Bell, and that's how the try resulted. So David Boyle, a little unlucky, I suppose. There's a penalty going to West.
Nandruka was a little perplexed because he didn't know what to do. He was on his man. But Bell just got on the outside of Boyle.
David Furner's been called out here for something in the tackle. Laurie Daly, as captain, just asking the referee what it was all about. You can interpret that signal for yourself.
There he is there. Now it's David Furner. Hands between the legs. The old squirrel grip. You can't do it. Keep your hands out of that area and you won't get penalised. I applaud David Manson for taking that action, although that wasn't a dangerous tackle. There's just no need to do it.
Stewart hits it up for West, who will be heartened by that try. They haven't had the best of the game, but Affleck puts it down. Bad mistake, and he puts his hands to his head in, oh, grief, really, at that. Out it comes from Daly to the winger, Fullerby. He can't hang on to it. Into touch. It'll be a West scrum feed. Bill Dunn's off the field.
Oh, well, Billy Dunn, he looks like he might be in a little bit of trouble. It's that pass from Laurie Day, a little bit off target. Fullerby couldn't take it over his shoulder, goes into touch.
A few handling errors by both teams already. 8 I should say, in total. 4 handling errors each. Horrow. Boyle grabbing up around his head, just grabbing. Now Sadara scrambles a few metres, just short of halfway. Langmack goes a little wider to Dooley. He puts it down. They're going to have to watch their handling, West. They cannot afford to make these mistakes.
Well, they've made a lot of mistakes, haven't they? A lot of drop ball. There's Langmack. Good pass to Dooley. Just has a look at the defence coming up. Croker it was. He spills it. Croker comes up with a knock on as well. So Canberra should get the feed, and they do.
Daly inside to Boyle. West needed that last try. I think that it'd be very difficult to give Canberra much start and catch them. Daly, sort of side you want to be in front of all day long if you're going to beat Canberra. And a penalty this time against Bell. Just trying to pull the ball out in the tackle. Paul Bell, the try scorer. Laurie Daly organising the show today without Ricky Stewart, who's got a hamstring complaint, some sort of lower back problem, which doesn't seem too serious. He should be right again next week, but at this stage of the season, the Raiders in second place on the ladder. Oh, that is high! He's off! It looked terrible. Mark Affleck is sent off. And is it Brad Clyde has been hit?
I think your
high.
point is Luke DeVico that was hit.
Mark Affleck is off. West down to 12 men in the 22nd minute of the game.
Well, let's have a look at it. There's DeVico, takes the ball up. Affleck comes, yeah, no argument. Straight across the throat, just a swinging arm. Better look from this angle. There he is there. just a swing arm, launched himself into it, got him across the neck, and that's gone. I mean, you can't argue with that, Johnny Peard.
Well, I didn't think it was vicious, but he did aim high, and he did come out of the line, Peter.
Yeah.
He moved across. I mean,
I don't think it was vicious, Peardy, but I mean,
not at all.
Not at all, but some people just happen to make those accidental head-eye tackles all the time, don't they?
And away go the Raiders here, as Dandruga's not far out. They've got 6 more. They took the tap, and West are almost caught unready for it. Stone, bad pass. Furner's lost it, and that will be a scrum. That was a poor pass, really, by Steve Stone. Too low for David Furner on the burst to pull in.
Yeah, Steve Wilder's giving a couple of his teammates a bit of a rev there. He realised that that's not the standard the Canberra Raiders like to set for themselves. Pretty ordinary football after a great opportunity to score a try, but, you know, you'd probably say at this stage, Warren, with how long we got? 17:05 to go in the first half. We've still got a good 57 minutes of football remaining. It's just you'd have to say it's almost all over now.
Well, the odds on West winning have lengthened, haven't they? They've blown out. Here's Georgalis. The thing about these high tackles, Jack, I know players are trying to wrap up the ball, but I mean, when are they going to learn that you can't go above the shoulders? I mean, they're missing the ball by about 2 or 3 inches over the top, and what do you hit? You hit a bloke in the chin or the neck. And whether it was vicious or not, it's dangerous. Players can suffer very serious injuries.
Well, that's right. I mean, you know, it wasn't vicious, and I'm 99% sure that it was an accident. I mean, he didn't want to get sent off.
Yeah, that's right. It's not a question of intent. It is.
I keep going back to the scenario or the analogy. Here we see Fullerby going for a good run after a nice pass from Mullins. I'll go back to the analogy, Warren, is that some people drive cars and have a lot more. There's a penalty for walking off the mark. Let's stick with the action. We'll talk about that a little later on.
Fullerby. As it went now to Sidaris as he's taken the tap, trying to reply with a try. Langmack calling his troops forward. Horrow knocked to ground by Wesley. Sidaris. Mesha. Tackled by Walters. West deep on the right, on the far side. Dooley has a go himself. Justin Dooley, who's been making an impact off the bench for West this season. Georgalis, Langmack, back inside looking for Leeds. Leeds hit Daly high. Daly off the ball, copped one across the face as Leeds tried to keep Daly away from the ball, but it was a little more than that.
Well, let's have a look at it, Warren. There's Laurie Daly. He hits Paul Langmack with a good one. Andrew Leeds comes through. Oh, well, you probably could say that was a reflex accidental thing. Andrew Leeds looked like he had his arm there anyway. Laurie Daly certainly was hit fairly high and dropped like a bag of spuds. So I don't think there was too much in that. I think we saw it in slow motion on the television replay, but in true life action, I think that was something that was probably unavoidable.
I don't know. I think Leeds knew what he was doing, but I don't know that it was any malice in the tackle. He might have even actually grabbed his jersey, but he certainly went down quick and hard. And Daly felt his face. Might have been a bit of contact there.
But penalty is enough, I think, for that one. I'm just saying, getting back to those head-eyes, Warren, I mean, blokes that go into tackles, aim for the ball, swing their arms in tackles, they're the blokes that continually have accidents and do head-eye tackles. Some players spend their whole careers being punishing defenders, but never ever do that.
Yep, you're absolutely right. It's technique, isn't it?
It's like driving a car. If you drive to the speed limit, don't drive drunk and obey all the road signs. You're a lot less chance of having an accident than if you speed and drive drunk and don't obey the road signs.
Brad Clyde just copped a little bit of a heavy tackle from Darren Willis. There's a bit of feeling out there right at the moment. The crowd egging them both teams on as well. Now Stone. And over in the back play, Dooley's climbing up a player slowly. Stewart has to go back, and Stewart saves the day for West. The front rower had to scramble back. There was a bit of scrapping going on the ground with Dooley and a couple of players off the ball as well.
Yeah, certainly temperatures running high out there.
Suddenly exploded the game. 10-6 in favour of Canberra after 26 minutes. West with 12 men after Mark Affleck was sent off. The dropout from Andrew Leeds. And Wesley comes forward to it. Sidaris is shoved off. Takes 3 to put David Wesley on the ground. Furner just hangs on. He's lost it. Popped out, and the Raiders are letting the Magpies off the hook. Their handling is just as bad.
Well, both sides clocked up 6 handling errors each, Warren, which is, well, which is a lot for 27 minutes of football.
It's one every couple of minutes, isn't it? So neither side really getting through sets of 6. Sedaris picks up Langmack, a pass look forward. It was forward. Touch judge might have helped out, but the cohesion is not there in the Magpies' play.
Yeah, there it is. Just a little too keen, Paul Langmack. And no doubt that one went forward. So another handling mistake. Stop-start affair at the moment.
Stone has it for Canberra. Daly to Wiki. Furner almost through. He got away from Horrow. The dummy just made the break happen for him. And well, he has got the penalty there. Standing over him was Darren Willis. I thought Furner might have milked this a little. Let's have a look at it, see whether the Willis did hold him down. Although the Raiders have taken the tap. They've given up on the goals altogether, and they're going for tries. Against 12 men, they've taken 3 quick taps already. Now Daly with a clumsy play the ball. Referee says play on. He was right over the top of them. He could see what was going on. Mullins tackled. DeVico, flat-footed. Back it comes to Walters, though. He comes back and finds Steve Stone. Referee just gets out of the road. Stone tackled 9 metres out. West on the rack here. Wesley wide. Beautiful hands from Daly. Keeps it alive to Walters. Dooley's got him, and Walters can't unload. Twisting and trying to writhe back towards his own teammates. Langmack told to keep away by the referee. Daly with the kick. There's nobody home. Nobody home. And the try is scored oh so simply by Jason Croker. Not a West player within 10 metres of that kick. Laurie Daly knew all about it. His vision is so good. And look at this as he pots it through. There's no fullback, there's no halfback, and there are 3 or 4 Canberra players who could have scored this, and Jason Croker, who can sniff out a try, does just that.
Well, you've got to ask the question, where's the winger? Where's Andrew Leeds? There he is up in the line. Andrew Leeds going up in the defensive line. Laurie Daly spotting a weakness there. Steadies himself, gets a great little kick, perfectly weighted. Would have stopped in the in goal anyway. They're huge in goals here at Bruce Stadium. And Jason Croker does the rest. He's a prolific try scorer, Jason Croker. A man of many, many talents, can play anywhere on the field, and an unsung hero of this Raiders side.
Formerly from Crookwell, down the south coast of New South Wales. Jason Croker, 9 tries this season. He's missed a few games. He had a broken arm for a while. And was it...
the South Coast?
19 tries last season for Croker. Well, it's a couple of hours south of Sydney, isn't it?
On the coast?
Crookwell?
No, it's not.
Where's Crookwell? Have I got the wrong place? Where's Crookwell?
It's not on the coast.
It's not that far away from the coast.
Neither's Gundawindi.
Here's Furner. This poor record with the boot this season, and there's another miss. So what's that? 4 out of 15 now, I think, for Furner. Canberra 14, West 6.
There's a very good lead-up play to this. Very good pass from DeVico. Some good running from Walters. But Andrew Leeds had to come up in the line because they did stack the left-hand side. And Laurie Daly good enough just to put one on the shoe.
Maybe that was a planned move to stack that left-hand side, Peardy, and get the fullback up out of the into the line.
Well, you couldn't. I'd say it probably was, but they really stacked it, and you couldn't blame Andrew Leeds. He'd had to come up into the line, otherwise they would have ran through the obvious hole that was there.
The Raiders on their 20 with DeVico, who's done a solid job so far. He and Wesley have been in the game. Brent Stewart watching on the bench. Wesley now.
He's got good timing, Wesley. Off the dummy half. His charges have been... well, he's had more charges than my bank manager.
And what about Steve Walters? They just cannot stop him, can they? Daly with numbers. Goes right over the top of Nandruku, who's done well to recover. The moment he thought it was going over the touchline. That was a bad pass from Daly. They had an extra man or two on the blind side. Now Daly with the kick down towards Leeds. And it finds touch. Really, while it was a very good kick from Daly, they probably haven't got much to lose by keeping the ball in play.
Yeah, there it is, a beautiful kick from Laurie. Pretty ordinary pass, makes up with a good kick. He has got a good kicking game, Laurie Daly. I believe that he was. There's Timmy Sheen's, of course, off to the Cowboys in a couple of years. Laurie Daly, he did say that he wanted to take over from David Ferner in the goal kicking. Well, he was certainly putting a challenge out to David Ferner, and I believe, Warren, that's why he didn't play last week, because he pulled his quadricep doing goal kicking practice.
He's had a pretty good season injury-wise, Laurie Daly, who's been hampered, you know, and disrupted in the past.
Yeah, I think he's been their best this year, Daly, no doubt, and that's probably due to the fact that he has been injury-free, and you know what a pleasure it is to see him out there week in, week out.
Didn't have representative commitments either, which helped. Now West trying to get the ball into the scrum. The referee says he wants it right in that tunnel. Not much of a front row packing there for Canberra. They're all at their heads out of the scrum. Wall scurries a few metres. Sedaris slipping it away. Looks like Driscoll. Dooley now. Short of the halfway line. Langmack throws the dummy this time. Now loses it. Both players dive in. Steve Stone's got it. He won the wrestle with Sedaris for the ball. So an offload that didn't work for Langmack. Now West inside the 10. Georgalis hobbling a little as he goes back. Stone asks the question. They'll look for touch rather than take the tap. It is Steve Stone who picks up 10 metres. Doesn't gain much ground. Walters, the tap. Wiki, the run. The West have to try and hold them out here with 5 minutes till half-time. Stone. Wesley tackled.
They won't hurt him. Warren, he's a Queenslander.
Stone. Oh, they don't feel pain.
Not at all. They've got the numbers here again, Warren.
Clyde, Wiki, Fullaby unmarked. Waiting, he's lost it. Wiki loses it. West trapped in the in-goal area, but the referee will play that knock on and bring the scrum back out.
Well, just one. Yeah, just one pass. That's what we needed there. We have Bradley Clyde gets a good one. If Wiki gets that ball away, unmarked on the wing as Fullaby, he scores in the corner. Great defence there from the winger coming in, rushing Ruben Wiki, unable to get a pass away, and in the end, West come up with the reward. But great work there by the winger Willis, I think it was.
Canberra have been in the West 20 with a few sets of 6, which they haven't been able to convert into tries. Mind you, they have managed to score 3. On the other hand, West have scored 1 try, but haven't had very many chances apart from that. Sedaris, up the middle he goes. The metres favouring Canberra, 6:24, even though West have had a shade more football.
Well, here's trouble. Jimmy Sedaris, I think it is down. He looks in a lot of trouble. There he is, going for one of his customary runs from dummy half. Gets rid of Wesley. Just taken down there. Oh, an accidental knee in the back by Jason Croker. Nothing in that. Although, see, that's the thing with the slow motion replay. You're looking at that in slow-mo, and people say, oh, he meant to do that on purpose. But you're looking at it in real speed, and you'd be 100% certain that there was certainly no malice in that at all.
Couldn't have stopped himself if he wanted to.
No.
Sedaris looks like he might be able to continue, but they can hurt when you get them up under those ribs around the kidneys and
Let's
so on.
look at it at real speed now. There you go. See, that's an impossible. No malice in that whatsoever.
Well, that looks like young Kevin McGuinness, who's going to come on. Yes, it is Kevin McGuinness, brother of Ken. Member of the Australian schoolboys team, halfback.
But Jim Sedaris is okay. He won't be needed.
Mullins takes it well. Can't get away. That's a good chase from West. High kick. Plenty of chases through. Can't afford to give Mullins any room. Fullaby makes a few metres.
I reckon Kevin McGuinness, I was speaking to Tommy Radonicus a couple of weeks ago, and he believes that Kevin McGuinness is a better player than Ken McGuinness, which is a huge rap because Ken McGuinness is one of the real young stars of the game. So if he's anything like the raps Tommy puts on him, this bloke will be a sensation.
Walters has got 15 metres and nearly unloads. Stone was backing him up. 14-6 in favour of Canberra. Daly to Furner with the kick. And it's going to find touch. And Andrew Lees will be quite happy about that because once again there were plenty of chasers. And Jason Croker just having a chat with David Furner, discussing that kick. Probably saying if you kicked it a little straighter we might have been half a chance.
Well, they've done their homework, haven't they, the Canberra Raiders, as far as their kicking game goes. A couple of tries from kicks, and they've been pinned perfect. And Andrew Leeds, I've got to say, Warren, has looked a little out of sorts today. He's usually one of the safest guys that you can have at the back. There he is, Jim Snarls getting rest. He'll be replaced by young Kevin McGuinness, but it just looked a little shaky today, Andrew Leeds.
Justin Dooley is met by Furner. Daly comes in to assist. Interesting to have a look at Kevin McGuinness then. He's out on the field in the headgear, number 20. Now Mark Horrow, a little flat-footed as well, not getting up much steam, and the ball's come loose. Referee says it was, what is that? Not so much that it was stripped.
Yeah, well, I think he's got a call from the touch judge because his original decision wasn't that. There you go. Well, there's hands in there, wasn't there? I mean, gee, that's untidy. That's a blight on the game, I reckon.
He basically said that he must have called held and the tacklers kept on coming.
It's a dead set toss-up as well. I mean, to make a ruling on that, you can't really unless you see it from 5 angles on a video replay.
Very difficult. Now here's Mesher tackle, 40 metres out. McGuinness goes to dummy half. Kevin McGuinness. Out it comes to Horrow. West certainly needed it to lift intensity. I know they're missing a man sent off, but from the outset today, they don't really look like they've been on their game, but for that matter, neither are Canberra. McGuinness to Langmack. Back to Kevin McGuinness. Slips it nicely to Leeds. He's lost it, though, and it's scooped up by Stone.
Another bloke we haven't seen much of today is Brett Mullen so far, Warren. You'd like to see him out in the open. I'm sure Tommy Radonicus wouldn't, but a spectating point of view.
Canberra short on the far side, and Daly's got the sniff of a break. No, the defence came in on Croker to cut him down. Bell came in with Dooley. They had the numbers there. They were ready to exploit it. DeVico, straight and hard. Up to halfway. Strong run. Now Wesley. And he drags them with him. Carries Damien Driscoll along the ground behind him. Stone switches it to Daly. Croker. He's knocked over once again. It's Bell and Dooley defending on the far side. Stone kicks high. Some pressure here for Wall and Leeds. Well taken by Leeds. On the full, in the end goal. That was one he couldn't afford to miss. Mesher wants to take the tap. Gives it to Horrow, but Mark Horrow's going at half pace. You're just not going to put any fear in the opposition at that speed. Langmack.
They've done a lot of tackling, Wes. And they've been up this end of the field for, seems, an eternity.
Now slow play the ball from Langmack. They can ill afford him to be injured. Dooley. Half-time siren goes. It's almost as if West just wanted to retain possession for that 6 and not give it back to Canberra. You wouldn't say it was the smartest, most exhilarating half of football we've seen all season. It had its moments, but bad handling marring both teams' performance. Half-time, 14-6 in favour of Canberra.
Thanks, Warren. Let's update the AFL matches happening this afternoon. Approaching half-time, these were the scores a short time ago. Starting at Cardinia Park, where Geelong 10-4-64 are leading the Sydney Swans 3-4-22. Essendon leading Fremantle 10-1 to 5-3. Over at the Optus Oval, and it's Richmond 4-4-28, St Kilda 5-6-36, and Footscray still with their nose ahead of Hawthorn 5-7-37 to 4-4-28 at the Western Oval. And in Rugby Union, at the Bledisloe Cup match being played this afternoon at the Sydney Football Stadium, approaching half-time there, the Wallabies were down 12-3 at one stage. They've fought back, just 2 points the difference. A short time ago, the All Blacks 12, Australia 10. In netball, South Africa's improvement in the international arena will be put to the ultimate test tonight when it plays Australia in the final of the World Championship in Birmingham. It's clear to all critics whether the match will be won or lost. Rarely has a tournament been dominated as it has been by the South African goal shooter Irene van Dijk.
She's 190 centimetres tall, athletic and accurate, and no one has been able to mark Irene van Dijk out of a game. Even when fouled, she comes up smiling. She's hard for defenders to dislike, let alone contain.
There's two things that we have to concentrate on in playing Irene. One is persistence. Against a player like that, we're not going to get every ball, and we just have to make sure that we do get the balls that aren't so well thrown. The second thing that we have to work on is playing a space. I think when you mark up against Irene, if you play body to body, you give the feeders an idea of where to throw. So we're looking at playing a spatial kind of defence and having a go at the longer balls that are coming down court.
The New Zealand defence is taller and stronger, I think, from my side, than the Australians. But the Australians are very tough as well.
Australia's campaign could so easily have ended 10 days ago with Vicky Wilson's serious knee injury, but they grafted out the crucial win over New Zealand, and Wilson has still been making a contribution.
I'm looking at all aspects of the court now. Normally I don't really get a very good view of the defence end, so now I'm starting to see everything, and I sit there and have a bit of a chat to Jill about the way I see things and the way she sees things. So, I believe I have a bit of an input into what happens.
Wilson was player of the series in February when Australia made a clean sweep of the 3 tests against South Africa. But as the Kiwis have learnt to their ultimate cost, they've made great strides since then.
Full court, I think, all the way from their shooters right down to the defence. They're a lot hungrier and they're a lot more determined than what we saw in February.
They've gone away and done their homework, and they've come back here much stronger. They're much more streetwise out there, and they move the ball quite well now.
Australia will start slight favourites in the final, but they're under no illusions about what it will mean to South African pride to win the rugby and netball world titles in the same year. The match will be live on ABC TV.
Yes, from 10 to 1 tomorrow morning and live right around the country. Well, another chance now for you to enter our Rugby League competition, where here again are the prizes you can win. A bomber jacket from your favourite club, the book, The ABC of Rugby League, a video of last year's Kangaroo Tour, plus an ABC Sports cap. And this week's competition question again is this. What was the scoreline of last week's win by Western Suburbs over the Bulldogs? Was it 20 points to 16, 14-12 or 18-14? If you think it was 20 to 16, phone 0055 60524, leaving your name and number. 14 points to 12, the line is 60525, or was it 18-14? Phone 0055 60526. Lines are open up till midnight on Thursday, and we'll announce the winner in our league preview next week. Back now to the Bruce Stadium and Warren Boland.
Thanks, Karen. 14 points to 6 in favour of Canberra. Well, Wests are going to do it tough in the second half. They're not out of it on the scoreboard, but down to 12 men after Mark Affleck was sent off. Well, I think Canberra certainly be red-hot favourites to take the points today. Jim Sedaris, another reason why Wests are going to do it tough in the second half. He left the field. Whether or not he can come back remains to be seen. Seemed to be a back problem, but it has been an up-and-down season for Jimmy Sedaris. But nevertheless, he's been right in the midst of all the hard yakka by the Magpies under coach Tommy Raudonikis, as Bridget Tilley reports.
trying to say? What are you trying to say?
This is the way we're going to play. We're playing Mars.
We're playing for that's
We're
against
playing Mars. Yeah, that's right. And whoever wins blows the other planet up. Okay, good. I mean we get it from blow up Canberra. Yeah, that's right. You bloody beauty.
The feeling out at Campbelltown is sky high. And under the man, Tommy Radonicus, many of the Magpies are finding a new lease on their footballing life. And amongst all the hype, there's Jim Sedaris. 1995 hasn't been one of his best, but over the past couple of weeks, the gutsy hooker has been quietly reviving his form of 1994.
Inside for Sedaris. He'll need some help.
Form that earned him a berth on the Kangaroo Tour.
Puts his ears back, gets it away for Sailor. Sailor will score.
Being on the tour for 2 months, I think, it took a lot out of me. But, I mean, I'm happy now that I've found form now at State Origin. Everyone knows I did, perform as well as I should have.
Sedaris puts the kick in, and it goes dead in goal.
And another example of trying to do too much.
I know I didn't play to my best, but I didn't go that bad. I don't think I deserve to cop all that criticism. But, I mean, I always knew I'm going to bounce back from it, Playing in, I got me chance in that third test match, so I think that's, just give me more reason to, to perform better.
I don't think he played that badly. I think he had a lot of other teammates with him too. Remember, there's 13 blokes in a team, but that's over now, and all we're looking forward to now is getting into the 8.
His recall to the test team may have been controversial, but it also provided an injection of confidence.
That's better stuff from Jim Sedaris. That's the kind of football we know Jim can play.
Building on that, he returned to the hooking role at the Magpies, one that had been played by rookie Cherry Mesher.
Cherry Mesher gets another 4 points for the Magpies in this.
Although only 23, he's in the more experienced ranks at Campbelltown, and that has helped put him on the Rugby League shopping list.
No, I haven't signed anything with Manly yet. Everyone knows I've had talks with them. They've made me an offer, and it was a reasonable offer. But I mean, I'm just going to wait till all these Super League and ARL business is all sorted out and see what's happening next year. I'm not the only player. There's a few players still waiting. Glenn Grief, who's still waiting. He hasn't decided with all these Super League and things. So, my main things now is to, perform out in the paddock, and it's all our main aim now. And hopefully, by the end of the year, I've sorted out where I'll go. So, I'll just wait till the end of the year. I've had a good 5 to 7 years, playing football. I've enjoyed it. Even when I was at South, I enjoyed it, immensely. I played with some good players there, and then I went to Canberra and I played with some terrific players there. So hopefully the next decision, wherever I go, I'm going to play out my career there. I don't want to be swapping sides. I want to play 7 good more years and call it quits.
Well, West need players of the calibre of Jim Sedaris in their side. They can't afford to lose him. And when you think about it, under all this Super League ARL battle, there's been very quiet out on the Western Suburbs front, but they'll be looking to support from the ARL if they're going to be part of it. Time for the league lens now, and today we're going out Penrith way, and it's Phil Adamson's Uncle Arthur who's got the handy cam.
In action. We're out here at the magnificent Penrith Stadium, and we're going to go and have a look at a little bit of a couple of rugby league players. But before we do so, we'll just go and have a look at little old Johnny Cartwright's opposite. Look at this magnificent John Cartwright, one of the Australian champions. Let's go and have a look at Johnny Cartwright's office. Well, there you go. He's got himself a little one of our champion little office. So there we go. Now we're just going to make our way into the medical room. Cole, what's wrong with you at the moment? He's got a little bit of a sore thumb. Not to worry, Matty. What's wrong with you at the moment?
Crook knee, mate.
Crook what, mate?
Knee.
Crook knee, mate. Okay, then. Oh, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. It's Brad Fittler, the Australian captain. What are you reading there, Brad?
I've got Sunday's game plan.
Sunday's game plan, Brad. And hang on, hello. Who have we got here? Is that the New Zealand Test hooker and skipper for the Union, Sean Fitzpatrick? No, I tell you what, it's little old Roycey Simmons. Have a look at the little fella there. Just telling these fellas what to do. There we go, there's Matty Adamson. There you go, ladies. You've seen him on Girlfriend now, you've seen him on national TV now. And have a look at those beautiful little set of legs there. Matty. And here we are back in the medical room again, and look at ourselves, little old Cole Bentley here. Looks like he's about to receive some sort of a little bit of an injection. Oh, the doc can't find no needle. Look at this little fella here. He's going to get a little bit of a needle. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, not even a little bit of a grimace on his face. He's certainly had a little of a blinder there, Colin. Well, there you go. That's the day, fellas. That's a little bit of a day with the Penrith Panthers. I hope you enjoyed my little day, because I certainly had a little bit of a super day today. See you next time, fellas. See ya.
Well done, Phil Adamson. And do that needle. No, thanks, no. Let's say good day again to Sean Garlick, East hooker, who's joining us this afternoon. Sean, what did you think was, what was starting the rot for the Magpies out there?
I think it was pretty much a case of them just making the fundamental handling errors. Jacko mentioned about the surface out there, and I know myself, when you play down there, it's a shocker to try and keep your feet, and maybe they were concentrating too much on their footwork and just forgetting about their hands a bit, and they just turned the ball over a bit too much for Canberra, I think.
Well, let's take a look at the tries together, and of course Ruben Wiki over for the Raiders early.
Yeah, well, there didn't seem to be much on here, except when the Magpie boys just flew out of the line like that and left their mates short, and Wiki just virtually went through without much trouble at all.
And we're seeing a lot of tries coming from around the sticks from these kicks.
Well, this would have been a shocker for take for poor old Andrew Leeds, but Steve Stone, to his credit, he probably kicked a little bit further than he wanted to, but then he's had to chase it all that way, and it's bounced off the crossbar, I think, and just straight into his arms.
Paul Langmack again, running all the moves for Wests.
Yeah, that was a terrific ball he popped up for Andrew Leeds there, and Canberra had to scramble to make that tackle, and then just probably relaxed a little bit too early, and they just jumped over the next one.
Now, we've got the send-off here. What was your view of it?
Well, I think Mark Affleck, I think he was just trying to make up for it. He dropped a ball about 2 tackles earlier, and I suppose he just went back to the line and just tried to make up for it and flew out of the line and just went a little bit too high. I think it was just more enthusiasm than any sort of malice in it. I feel a bit sorry for Mark Affleck.
Of course, Jason Croker then scored for the Raiders. We were talking before about these high tackles. Have you got, any explanation of why they continue to happen even though guys are getting sent off?
Yeah, I think you've touched on it a bit. It's just so important these days to lock up the ball carrier, and the attack's doing their best to get the ball away, and you just can't allow it if you're going to be any sort of chance. And it's just a very fine line between trying to take that ball, and it's a bit of a ski ramp. You miss that ball and go above it, and it just takes you straight to the chin or the neck, and then your history. So it's a bit of a catch-22, really.
All right, Sean, the two teams are out on the field, so we'll catch up with you after the game.
Thanks, Byron.
Right now, let's take a look at the stats. Jacko, what have you got for us?
Well, let's have a look at them. Time in possession. There we have Canberra 46.